So Caron Products is a lab equipment manufacturer. It is a company based in Ohio. But if we talk about the origin story of Caron, it was started by a family. The family that was involved in this is Spurgeon family. They were actually one of the pioneers who were involved in lab equipment manufacturing. So John Burge's father, he was the founder of Pharma Scientific that was later on bought up by Thermo Scientific.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Jiten Pant. He's the Global Director of Research and Innovation at Caron Products. Jiten, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Jiten, why don't you start and tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for inviting me for the podcast and the interview. It was a pleasure talking to you before the podcast, and I knew that this could serve as a very good platform for people who can benefit from the kind of work that we do. So my name is Jitendra Pant. I go by Jiten. I serve as the Global Director of Research and Innovation at Caron Products. I oversee new product development, mergers and acquisitions, existing product improvement, product launch, and everything within the realm of the product. By training, I have been a lab scientist for about 14 years. I got trained in India initially, and then I came to United States about 8.5 years ago. For the last 1 year, I'm living in North Carolina, RTP area, and I'm loving every bit of it.
I love it. I love it. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about Caron Products?
Yes, so Caron Products is a lab equipment manufacturer. It is a company based in Ohio. But if we talk about the origin story of Caron, it was started by a family. So husband, wife, partners. So the husband name is John, the wife is Carol. So when you put Carol and John together, it makes Caron. And the family that was involved in this is Spurgeon family. They were actually one of the pioneers who were involved in lab equipment manufacturing. So John Burge's father, he was the founder of Pharma Scientific that was later on bought up by Thermo Scientific. So they have been in this line for a very long time, and it's amazing how something that started in a small town in Marietta is now serving in more than 90 countries globally. In 2021, Caron received its capital infusion from a private equity firm called SFW. And right now it is serving in more than 90 countries. We actually acquired another company called Big Neat in Waterlooville, UK, which is now known as Caron UK.
Wow, interesting. So talk to me, that's a great history. I appreciate you sharing the history of Caron Products. So talk to me a little bit about kind of, the specifics of the different products, the services, the parts. Walk me through that a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. So Caron, in terms of the kind of equipments that we make, we serve in three major areas. If we categorize our products, the first product line is chambers with controlled temperature and humidity. So something like a CO2 incubator, a plant growth chamber, animal growth chamber, insect growth chamber would be the first product line. And then the second product line is enclosures and cabinets, again with controlled environment. So something like a biosafety cabinet or a modular enclosure that allows for user safety or the safety of the biological sample or the safety of the environment in which it is operated comes under the second category. And the third category is maintaining the stability of a product. And there, the products that we have is environmental growth chambers, photo stability chambers, and everything that includes the stability of specifically biological molecules. The kind of companies that we serve are biotech and biopharma companies, and the kind of product lines that we support is imagine biological samples like monoclonal antibodies, cell and gene therapy, vaccines, and things along those lines.
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. So, and I'm glad you answered my question because I'm thinking too with all of these products, kind of, what are, who are you selling to? So I appreciate you kind of breaking down, what industries you serve to and all of that. So do you think that it's the three kind of different areas that Caron specializes in that differentiates it from a Caron from its competition?
So I would say, see the product line that in which we are working, a lot of companies exist in that product line, and there are companies that are 10x bigger than Caron. So
Hmm.
one thing that has helped Caron a lot is early on Caron recognized that in a field where your end user are smart people such as scientists, and the kind of product that they are making, it's life saving. When you make the molecule of, imagine the world without COVID-19 vaccination, or cancer treatment, right? And now you would have heard that now we have treatment for AIDS. When you work on these mighty projects and complex processes, your end users are very smart people, people who have gone through years of training. They know what they're getting into, and they have a fair idea of what they expect from a product. Now, the only way Caron can compete with companies that are 10x bigger their size is through innovation. And that is one of the biggest strength of Caron. Like the product line that you see at Caron, the oldest would be the 5-year-old version. What does that mean? Like we upgrade our product very fast.
Hmm.
For example, this year alone, we are launching six products, but we also have something called EPI, existing product improvement. And we change on a weekly basis. Like we modify our products on a weekly basis. The moment we hear any internal or external issues coming either from the customer or from one of the team members recommending a change, we can implement it immediately. So what differentiates us is our ability to adopt to the changes instead of going, over complicating it and bringing those changes 2-3 years from now when it's too late. So that has been the strength. Plus, we have a lot of proprietary features that allows us to differentiate. Patents definitely help in those scenarios because some of our products are provided only and only by Caron. Like, for example, the integration of a hydrogen peroxide unit as the source of sterilization is exclusive to Caron. We have patented dry sterilization technology. So traditionally speaking, companies rely on high heat sterilization, gamma radiation, but they have huge limitations. And hydrogen peroxide is safer, it saves time, it saves money, and it is efficient. It can cause 12 log reduction. There's a long list of proprietary products. I'm not going to overwhelm you with the scientific information, but if people want to look up more on our website, they can look at our G-Rod, water recirculators, and there are 6 new products that we are launching this year with proprietary features that is going to hugely benefit the scientific community that is involved in drug development.
Wow, wow. And why is it so important that Caron is able to have these proprietary features? Like why, for someone who may not understand the impact of that, why is that important?
Yeah, again, it is, see, when you have to differentiate yourself, you have to bring new innovation. And then we also very well understand that if there is a company with its presence in 180 countries and size 10, 20 times bigger than ours, for them to adopt to that technology, it may not take, it's very easy to say that I also saw an apple falling from the tree, but we want to make the point that we were the first one who saw the apple falling from the tree. So that's why it's important to save the technology we have, but at the same time, we also do not want to. We believe that we do it the right way, and we believe that we serve our customers the way it should be by keeping them at the center of whatever we do. And when everybody starts doing the same thing, the message kind of gets diluted, and it's important to preserve what you believe so much in. And I mean that there is definitely a commercialization and business interest, but it is also because you start treating your innovation like your own baby and you want to protect it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And talking about innovation and growing, you said you mentioned there's 6 new products going to market, this year, it sounds like. Talk to me a little bit about what the growth that you've seen at Caron.
Yeah, so I joined Caron about 2 years ago in 2021. That was right after Caron got capital infusion from a private equity firm in New York. It's called SFW. And then we immediately acquired another company in UK. We are also in the process of acquiring new companies. After I joined, so I'm in charge for new product development, new product introduction into the market, mergers and acquisitions, and existing product improvement. And by being involved in all these processes, I was able to support Caron expansion of portfolio. So specifically talking in terms of growth, like I mentioned, we are launching 6 products this year. We have launched a couple of products last year. Just in the first quarter itself, we have launched 2 products into the market. The third one is coming 2 weeks from now. And I think all this is supported by the involvement of SFW, the private equity firm that I'm talking about. But it is also because people are appreciating what we are bringing to the market. Each time we go to a conference or a summit or we do a booth show, we can see the excitement among the people. So as people are learning more about our technology, I think it's very assuring that we are bringing an innovation and it is getting well accepted. That shows that we have done our homework well. And we were right about predicting the user needs and the market. And sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So kind of talking about the industry, in your experience, are there significant misconceptions that you tend to hear often about the industry, about the field? Anything that you hear often?
Absolutely, yes. So I would say, so this is very interesting. If you see the journey of a scientist, scientists are trained in academia first, and then you join corporate labs and manufacturing facility. Now, academic research is hugely constrained by budgets. Now, Caron, we make capital equipments, and we are actually more expensive than 90% of the companies that you find in our portfolio. So specifically talking about the misconception around what Caron is facing is, it is hard to convince someone initially that cheap ultimately turns out to be very expensive. And people realize it eventually. Now, what happens is, if you are in academia, trained in academia, and you have used XYZ equipment just because of their larger size and larger presence, now it is a challenge for us to have that mind shift and tell people to stop using that and start using Caron.
Yeah.
So one of the misconceptions that I see, I think it is also common sense that eventually that cheap is not always cheap. It turns out to be expensive in most of the cases, right? Like that's why when we say, when you buy a brand, it is not because of the fame and name, it is because there is more trust. But that trust is built because there's a lot of efforts on the quality, and the quality comes with a price. And one misconception I think that people have to overcome is try to save money and buy a cheaper equipment and buy another one after 2 years. Like our equipment, they last for more than 10 years. So they ultimately recover for far more than their price. And ultimately, people do not realize that service should be at the paramount of, like when you get into this kind of purchases that involves a buy equipment or a sophisticated buy equipment, you have to always make sure, is this company going to support me after sales as well? And, it should not be a Tata bye-bye right after the sale. It should be, are you going to stand with me? And service is important. So something, again, maybe not a misconception, but something that people fail to realize early on. It's more of getting misled
Yeah.
by the first impression without getting deeper into what should be involved in buying equipment. If I did not answer your question, I probably
No. I think that you said a bunch of really interesting good points. Because like you said, you're dealing with very high tech machinery, and there is a price tag that comes along with it. But the quality that Cameron is able to provide, obviously is a level above what you would be getting if you were to pay for something cheaper. Did I hear that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, I think people should compare apples to apples.
Mhm.
Like when you're looking at price, do not look at two price and say this is expensive. Like you should see, I think when you match it like quality by quality, you would feature by feature, you would be able to see that it's actually cheaper at the end of the day. And it is not just about Caron, about anything that you, where you invest your money, and you have to be smart about it and make sure, especially for developing something like a life-saving drug, you want to do it the right way. And you would have seen how many drugs fail during the preclinical trials, clinical trials. It is this kind of, if you do not have the right knife, you won't be able to chop your vegetables well.
Mhm.
And you might be blaming the gas stove, but the problem might be the knife.
Yeah.
So choose the right knife. So
I love that. That's a great analogy. So, Jiten, if people wanted to learn more about Caron, where would they go to learn more?
yeah, so they can definitely follow us on social media such as LinkedIn by typing Caron Products, or they can visit us on our website, which is www.caronproducts.com.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, Jiten, as we start to wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, either, about the industry, about Caron, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I would say that I think as a scientist, who has been trained across India, Germany, and US, I have seen the journey of a lot of biological products. This is a very exciting time. FDA is making a lot of new changes with respect to the policies. Products are able to come out to the market uh, much earlier than they could. Like I remember back in 2010 when I started working for biotech companies, that time the life cycle of a product before it can come to the market was 25 years, the drug development phase. Uh, I think that it's a blessing in disguise, but COVID has actually also taught us how you can expedite a drug development and be able to launch it earlier than it needed to be. That sense of urgency has come, but at the same time now there is an upsurge of so many companies coming with products. I hope that most of them are good, but there are also, when the door is open and there is a lot of rush, all kinds of product come into them and, get their way through the door. So we have to be very careful as a consumer, but also as the provider or the manufacturer of these, like provider of the equipment or the manufacturer of these drugs. We have to be very careful with what we are doing. Always, I have made a conscious decision of always keep the family of a patient in mind when you get involved in something as serious as drug development. Having that sense is very, very important, and that keeps me driven to make better innovations. But it also consciously tells you that it should be the purpose and not the money that should be driving what you are doing. So that's my message to everyone who is involved in life science industry, that never forget the bigger purpose. The kind of decisions that you make here can make or break a family. Ultimately, when somebody falls sick in a family, when a family member dies, it affects the whole family and ultimately the whole society. So we might not always realize it, but the decision that we make sitting in a room has very widespread impact, and we should not forget the power that we have, and we should use it the right way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's, a great thing to leave our listeners with. I appreciate you, Jiten, breaking down everything that Caron does, all of the different sectors of the products, the different offerings. I think it's fantastic. Certainly a company that is needed in the growing world of biotech, like you said, with all of the changes kind of in this post-COVID era. I'm very thankful that you were able to, discuss everything that Caron is offering at Business Ninjas today. So I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Kelsey. It was a pleasure talking to you. And once again, thank you for inviting me. Very good questions, very thought-provoking, and I enjoyed this conversation. I hope our listeners will benefit from this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to have you.